this week, the select board has, of Manchester by the Sea has returned to open session. And the first issue, the first item on our agenda is public comments on non-agenda items. A little bit of technical issues. Very rapid switch.
Something I missed.
You had problems last week too, right?
What?
You had problems last week.
Other ZBA, yeah, there's something weird going on. It's
The
different.
full moon, I think.
Well, an update, every time you do an update, things get worse.
Yeah, my phone is, it's finally got to the point where I'm looking for a new phone. Because they screwed me up so many times.
I just had a new battery put in mine. It's
No,
like
mine just keeps on doing that death spiral all the time.
A little death spiral.
I was trying to deposit a check. I have 3 basketball checks, all $50 each. I thought I deposited all 3, but I was throwing, all of a sudden, the last one was that spiral, but I didn't know which check I didn't deposit.
Okay.
Good.
Are there any public comments on non-agenda items from people in the room? Are there any public, if you have a public comment and you are online, please raise your hand. There being none, there is no chairman's report. Are there any issues that we want to talk about on the activities, action items? If anything comes up later, we can add it to the action items. The first item on the agenda is a National Grid hearing. And is anyone prepared to open the evidentiary portion of the National Grid hearing?
I'll make a motion to open the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah.
Yes.
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 Okay. Is there anyone here to speak for National Grid? He's online, okay, yes.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. My name is Michael Pizzati, and I'm representing National Grid at 44 River Street in Beverly. And so for our first petition, we are, so National Grid is petitioning to install approximately 25 feet of 2 3-inch conduit from the existing manhole on Main Street to a proposed handhole on the sidewalk. This work is being done for the new service going in at 1 School Street.
Any questions?
Well, just because it's right in smack in the middle of downtown, I'm just curious what the length of time it's gonna take and how much disruption is there going to be and what day,
Chuck weighed in on that and said that if we'd like, we can require that it be night work, or he can limit the daytime work from, say, 9 to 3, depending on how we want to pursue that.
So it's up to Chuck to decide that.
It would be part of their road opening
Road
permit.
opening permit.
Yeah.
what month is this
Yeah.
supposed to happen and when?
So right now, oh, sorry.
Go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
Was that? Yeah, so right now it just went through the design phase, so it's gonna go from design, it's gonna go to scheduling, which takes maybe 2, 3, 4 weeks. I don't have an exact date, but depending on the availability we have, with our underground guys and our super group.
I'd prefer that it be at night, although night in Manchester doesn't have to be that late. So,
Just a trip over
you
the
could
old
start at
sidewalk.
6 probably, and that's fine. But this is the most important corner in town, and it's busy. It doesn't make any difference what time of day.
And as we get closer to the warmer season,
Yeah,
Then it becomes a little more pressure. Do you have any control over what time of the year this is going to be? I think in past discussions, you really haven't been able to talk too much to that.
Yeah, so I don't really handle too much of the scheduling side. That would have to be the job owner. So it to me it really depends on just the availability we have with our guys. You know, like if it gets on schedule, it can get pushed back due to a storm. So I can't give an exact date, but
Okay.
If you could approve the petition and Chuck can
That'd be
handle
fine.
those.
I think
Time
that just my
conditions.
concern is that I think at night would be more preferable, because it was coming into the summer months, we don't want it done. And then depending on potential work at the culvert, we don't, come fall, we don't want anything disrupting any other parts of the street, so.
So for the sooner the better,
Sooner the better, and
Yeah.
probably at night.
the sooner the better and at night.
But I'm not gonna take, any bullets out of Chuck's, let Chuck make
Yeah.
an ultimate decision.
Okay, is there any other evidentiary? Is there a move to close the evidentiary portion of the hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Is the board ready to vote?
do we vote on closing the hearing?
Sure, vote to close the
Aye.
hearing.
You also have another petition. Would you do them both at
Yeah.
the same
Okay.
I'm sorry.
evidentiary
Oh,
hearing?
that's right, yeah, we have a second
Okay,
one.
let's continue with the second one.
yeah. So for the second petition, we are National Grid petition to install conduits from an existing T-Box, which we're planning on upgrading to a heavy-duty handhold. So we're gonna run conduits from that handhold to the cousin property at 2 Pulaski Drive. For a service upgrade.
Chuck just had a couple questions, if
Okay.
you don't mind.
Fine.
Is the work limited to Pulaski Drive, or will it extend to
Pleasant Street.
Pleasant Street?
It's strictly only on Pulaski Drive, so the line from the manhole 17-1 is existing conduit.
Okay.
We're not touching that part, yeah.
Okay, all right.
Any concerns about Pulaski Drive? In that case, I move that we exit the evidentiary portion of this hearing. Is there a second?
Second,
Jeff,
Yes.
Brian,
Yes,
Kathy?
yes,
Ann says yes.
John, yes.
Okay. Are we ready to vote
Yes,
on both items? Okay. John,
yes.
Ann says yes.
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 Okay. Thank you very much. That ends,
Thank you.
we will now exit from the
These
hearing.
things are going much quicker now.
Hmm?
These are going much quicker now.
Is there a second to exiting the hearing?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay. Right. The next item on the agenda is Captain Dusty's Ice Cream and the contract for the canteen at Singing Beach.
We updated the contract to show that it's a 1 year for the year 2020. It'll go from the date of execution, but essentially for the summer of 2026.
My only comment is on the top of the second page, the last word. Reasonable wear and tear expected or accepted.
I take you home.
both kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
Fine.
It is exactly what was said in the last
Okay,
contract, so there's no change there.
Okay. Any questions?
Good for motion.
Yes.
Move the select board authorize the town administrator enter into a one-year contract with Captain Dusty's Ice Cream to operate the canteen at Singing Beach for the 2026 season.
Second.
John?
Yes,
Says yes, Kathy?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
And Jeff?
Yes.
The next item on the agenda, is to authorize the town administrator to sign the Powder House Lane regulatory agreement and declaration of restrictive covenants. Any questions?
Not so much on the agreement itself, but I'd like to understand from Tony, what's kind of the concept of operations here? This is, the paperwork associated with this is a compliance exercise. It's a little more than, administrative work, so I think it's important to have a concept of operations, clear roles and responsibilities, who's supposed to do what, when, and understand the ramifications if we get it wrong, So I'm not sure if all that's been thought through yet.
So for the more typical process that we're involved in, which is when the owner has to give the town notice of its rents and things of that nature, we don't really have much involvement there. The part where I haven't fully thought out the operations of is under section 16 default. It says that the owner and the municipality each covenant and agree to give EOHLC written notice of any default, violation, or breach of the obligations of the owner or the municipality within 7 days of first discovering such default, violation, or breach. So if we discover a violation of the owner, we're required to notify EOHLC within 7 days. I'm not sure how. I haven't really fully understood how we would become aware of a breach, and what would go into us notifying EOHLC.
Do we have anything on the registry now?
Yes,
Right, we
but
do.
not, there's different categories.
Okay.
And you have the Manchester Housing Authority, which is under different rules.
Mhm.
You also have properties from Windover, from building Lyman Circle, and from building Elm Street, Sawmill Circle. Because those were subject to tax credits or whatever, they're a whole different process. To the best of my knowledge, this is the first project we've had that's required a regulatory agreement. But
So-
I
yeah.
don't know what happened when Nick Charius bought out the 3 units on Central.
So, I have no objection to the agreement itself, but I do think we're kind of swimming in new waters here, and we should understand our obligations. Compliance is something that can get you into trouble if you don't pay attention to it. So we should get a clear con-ops and roles and responsibilities.
So I imagine a complaint from a resident is what would trigger
That's what I would.
this most likely.
And given the housing environment, that could come real fast. If someone thought that there was supposed to be a lottery and there wasn't, or, so we just need to dot our i's and cross our t's here.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I mean, I think the good news is we have no obligations under the marketing plan.
I'm sorry, what?
We have no obligations under the marketing plan of holding a lottery, selecting the tenants. Our obligation is they're required to give us a report once a year.
Right, so,
So a default would be if we don't receive the report.
exactly.
And
So
we
that's
could
a very
request
good
it.
example. So who in town hall is gonna be responsible for making sure we receive that report, right?
Mhm.
If you have compliance teams that work for you, you know, I'm sure you can figure out with them what's the best way to make sure this happens.
Do you work in conjunction with the MHA,
What?
the Manchester Housing Authority?
No.
They wouldn't want to take on that responsibility?
We wouldn't want them to.
Sarah, would you happen to know of any other towns that have this type of regulatory agreement in place?
No. I mean, the recommendation I made was that I felt that the town administrator's assistant could, when they received the report, put it on the agenda for the select board to approve the rents, and if it's not received, could follow up.
I think this is a little
It's
more.
not, this is not rocket science.
It's not rocket science, but it requires operational due diligence in a way. It's compliance, it's not administrative. And I would, you have a couple of compliance, teams that work for you, I would get their counsel. How do they manage, those due dates that they have in the finance area especially, they have a process and they make sure that there's backup and, it's compliance is a little different. So I just would get some good advice from the team members and have some clear accountability.
But we initiate nothing under this process.
No, I know, but I think since it's new for us, we should understand what could happen if we don't get that annual report and, are we in any way liable for anything? So I just think it's good operational practice, it's just.
Yeah, our admin has a lot of things that have to happen annually that she keeps track of somehow. All of these licenses and everything else, seems to me that slips right into the same.
Depends on the timing and.
Yeah, but, different things happen at different times.
They can increase the rents
Yeah,
once a year, and that's based on HUD releasing the updates to the area medium income, which occurs on April 1st.
It's
So,
not part of our fiscal cycle per se, right?
no, so it's a specified time of year. Currently, Peabody Properties is managing this process, and they're a large entity. That I think it's just a matter of getting things on a calendar, and I can work with Debbie to make sure that she has the proper contacts. Because they're also responsible for contacting EOHLC, not just the town.
yeah, right, both groups have to have that.
And we don't have a responsibility
Okay.
to,
Again, I
think
just
it can
think
be set up. I think part of her responsibility is to follow up with a lot of things on an annual basis. And this,
I think it's Tony's responsibility, it's his team, he can make a good decision and
So I
we'll
think
leave it at that.
I can come up with that and if
If a decision, for example, if a decision has to come before the select board, we have a mechanism for that, that's our action item tracker,
Right.
right? But other than that, it's your team, how you manage it is your
Right.
business.
if you're comfortable, because I know this is one of the last or
the last.
step to for Powder House units to start the process of getting those units turned over and counted towards the SHI. So if you're comfortable with moving forward, and then I'll come up with what those roles and responsibilities and process are gonna be.
I think that's perfect, and just add that to our action item tracker so we don't forget to talk about it.
Okay.
That's awesome, great.
I move that the board authorize the town administrator to sign the Powder House Lane regulatory agreement and declaration of restrictive covenants.
Second.
John,
yes.
Anne says yes, Kathy?
Yes.
Brian? And Jeff?
Yes.
Okay. We move.
And thank you, Sarah, for pushing that through.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for hanging in there a little longer.
Yeah.
Be careful walking home.
That was, by the way, that was.
I'm getting
Sarah.
weekly follow-ups from the state for it because we had Bruce Tarr in Ferrante's office meet with the head of the EOHLC, who's now gone.
Okay.
Okay, the next action item is a request from North Shore Pride to raise the transgender flag on the flagpole. I'm sorry. Commendation of International Day of Trans Visibility from March 28th to April 4th.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for having me on the agenda. My name is Dr. Hope Lapucci. My pronouns are she and her, and I reside at 2 Putnam Court here in Manchester on my childhood home. I'm here today to ask on this agenda item to raise the transgender flag here, the full flag, a regular size flag, on our town flagpole for the dates that are indicated there on your agenda. For those who don't know, there's over 1,000, in 2025, over 1,000 anti-trans legislative items before the legislature. We know that in 2025, there were 23 vicious attacks, fatal attacks against the trans community. Since 2013, there's been over close to 400 attacks on the trans community. So both as a resident myself, who identifies as a lesbian, I'm the founder and president of North Shore Pride, and we're celebrating 15 years this year. So we ask that, the town of Manchester give visibility and support to our trans community by raising that flag during the week of Trans Day Visibility. I have a posse here, if you'd like to speak at all, but that's my request. I got you silent.
Just procedurally,
Yes,
before we agree to raise a flag, there's usually a proclamation.
Yes,
That we would, I didn't see one in the package, did I miss it?
That has not been produced yet.
usually it comes every year at the flag raising, I know.
So we have one for the Pride, Progress flag, we have that in our packet. I don't see one for this flag.
No, this is a new request, so we reused the one from last year, but we didn't have one for this request.
Okay.
So that would have to be drafted.
So I think I personally don't have any concern with a proclamation. I'm very comfortable with that. I do think since we added a second flagpole, we really, again, haven't talked about the con-ops around the flagpole. And what I'm uncomfortable with is, how many flag raisings are there gonna be? And I'm looking for Tony to help us with that type of logistics discussion. I support the trans community, I'm happy to support a proclamation. This is the second time we've had a request for like a one-day event and stretched it into a week. We had a request last June for the special Manchester flag, around the 4th of July. So what are we gonna do with the second flagpole? We put one up, but we never really talked about some of the con-ups. So I would like to have that discussion, but I can support a proclamation.
And again, it would be the I'm sorry to interrupt, it would be the trans flag as opposed to, right now you have 2 of the United States flags.
The trans flag on our commemorative flagpole. Yes,
Is that what we're calling? Okay.
that's what it was called when it was established, so.
Couple of questions. What's this flag look like? So that's it. The other one,
Much larger.
this is the June flag, this is the,
Right.
okay. Second question, so it is International Day of Trans Visibility. You're asking for several days here. Rather than put it up on day 1 and take it down on day 2.
Yeah.
Any particular reason?
Sure. For the reasons that I quoted, trans violence is at an all-time high. I think it's important, to put it up once, you limit your exposure to our community in terms of, people seeing it and what that flag means. And I think it's very important.
Okay.
Our trans violence is growing exponentially each and every year.
Third question, is there are you having some sort of a ceremony like you do for the Pride flag
Yeah,
in
we'll
June,
do
or is it largely just?
We'll do a short ceremony, just like we do. Has anyone else applied for that time period for the flag? Oh, okay, all right. Anybody else?
No,
To the chair, I think.
Excuse me. Yes.
Oh, sorry.
No, I want to applaud your advocacy, okay? However, I'm not inclined to cherry pick subsets of the same group. We do the pride flag in June, which includes the transgender community, right? And I actually wrote this down so I wouldn't fumble over things here. I think the municipal flag display should remain focused and limited in scope. I do not support the flying of the transgender flag on municipal property. Government spaces should strive to represent broadly shared civic principles rather than an expanding array of specific identity-based symbols. Supporting Gay Pride Month while declining to flag additional identity flags reflects a desire to balance inclusion with consistency in municipal policy. We can uphold equal protection and civil rights for all members of our community without requiring government endorsement of every distinct symbol. I think that there's a lot of letters for the LGBTQ community, and I'm concerned that next year you're gonna come back with another day and another flag. And I think that the inclusiveness of the Pride Month should take care of all of that, and that's just my feelings.
No, I appreciate that, but basing it on a supposition that I'm gonna come back next year.
I think the supposition that you weren't gonna come back last year with the other flag, so it's,
Also, you should know that the majority of the towns and cities on the North Shore raise the trans flag.
okay, and the majority of people I've spoken to are opposed to it, so.
How many people is it?
A couple
But
dozen.
we
anyway.
don't do
I'm not-
that sort of,
Well, he brought it up, that's
yes,
why.
but it goes through the chair.
Absolutely.
So, again, I'm not gonna change my position on this regardless of the conversation, okay? I support what you're doing, but I don't think that, that we need to fly in a flag. I think the pride flag in the month of June should encompass all the groups that you represent. That's my statement.
John, any comment?
No, I see this, you want 5 days. What, Tuesday, Wednesday?
Yes,
Hamilton, 51 Forest Street. So my wife and I lost our transgender daughter last year. And, way back when she recognized herself as a trans individual, I was a parent, I had no idea what that phrase even meant or even knew. So what do you do if you're a parent and you're worried about your child? You start to do your research. My wife was a doctor, she did her research. Talked to psychologists, I was an educator, I did my research. A decade ago, and when our daughter, who had had many issues over the years and went through the Manchester School Department, once she recognized herself in her true identity, which is recognized by the Psychological Association of this country, the doctors of this country, once she realized that and was able to live in her authentic self, her life changed. She was married, she had an incredible career. But unfortunately, as was mentioned, when she was living in Colorado, she was attacked and abused. And as a result of that, and as a result of the weekly, almost daily threats against her life, she developed PTSD. And we lost her over a year ago because she couldn't get the help that she needed in terms of dealing with the emotional trauma that she was experiencing. I wish I knew more about PTSD, but I do know a little bit because I have a son, my oldest son, who's done 3 tours of duty and now is about to go over yet again. And when he came back from Afghanistan the first time, he had PTSD. And for a long time, we were worried about losing him. Fortunately, he was able to overcome that. So when you think about whether we should fly a flag or this is the same flag, no, the transgender flag is very different. It's dealing with a subset of individuals, a minority in this country who are being abused constantly. I mentioned about the education. Sorry, I'm taking longer. When I educated myself, my daughter had hope because she had hope because there were laws being passed in this country to protect the rights of transgender individuals. And I actually wrote and worked, my job was an educational consultant, and I actually worked and wrote for the New Hampshire, for the New York Department of Education, and learned about kind of the initiatives and the supports that were going on for transgender individuals. And as a part of that, I also looked across the whole country. I mean, a little aside is that Native Americans have a name for transgender individuals, which is True Spirit or Other Spirit. So this is something that's been recognized in our country in different ways many years. The long and short I'm going to just say is that since the time that I wrote the paper for the New York Department of Education and citing the various laws and policies that were being passed, that was over a decade ago. Now the laws in this country have multiplied tenfold or 100-fold anti-trans. So my daughter was one of those individuals who felt threatened day in and day out, not only because of the comments and attacks from people and individuals, but also because she was in her 30s and she understood what was happening in this country. Matter of fact, we lost her the day after the election. And I think she just finally lost all hope. So why is it important to have it up for 5 days? Well, thank goodness that there are people that have that flag up in front of their house 365 days a year. Because for that population and that minority, that gives them hope. That gives them hope that someone in their neighborhood, and I'm sorry to hear that you have people who are opposed to it, because the bottom line is it's just a flag it's just a piece of cloth to some people, but to other people it's a sign of hope and it's a sign of support. And we lost our daughter, but I'm wearing this because I volunteer now and support, and I know there's many other children in this community who are trans individuals, and they're afraid, and they're not getting the support. It would be nice to know. It'd be nice to have a flag somewhere on town hall 365 days a year, but at least 5 days a year on the would be an awful nice sign from this community that we support diversity and we support minorities.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
As a parent, I feel for you, okay? I've got a son who struggles, he's drug rehab, alcohol, so I know what it is to struggle, okay? But that doesn't, I'm still conflicted by the process, okay? We have the we have the progress flag now, I apologize. And my understanding is that encompasses all the sets. And I think that should be, that's, to me, should take care of that item. And that's, that's my opinion, my feelings. My sister has been with the same woman for 40 years, okay? It's not a statement on lifestyle. It's just a belief on the municipality and what the flagpole and what the town stands for and a broader range of things.
I appreciate that. I was on the school committee there for 6 years.
That's all.
No,
So my point is, this is not a personal attack on.
I believe I
Okay.
totally accept and appreciate that. I want to point out to you, though, that when I sat in your situation somewhere around the school board, I had that same feeling. I remember there was actually a desire to have a gay display in the school.
Mhm.
So I sat in a very similar seat, and I didn't want to go. I knew there were many different feelings. But what I will tell you is that it isn't the same. The flags are not the same, especially for transgender individuals. And the only way I learned that was because I had a trans daughter. And the only people who understand what it's like to have a trans individual or member of the family are the people who've taken the time, whether they wanted to or were forced to learn. And so when my wife and I first experienced this, and it was tough. We didn't know that what was trans. We had no idea what it was. So as I said, we learned, but we also went to a group called PFLAG, which was Parents and Friends of it was the whole LGBT community and originally, but what we experienced after 2 years of support, which was wonderful, from individuals who had trans children 10 years before young and had had to learn. What we learned was that this was just a part of some individuals, who they are and who they are being. And we also learned, and we ended up facilitating for the next decade, the same group that helped us. And all I can say is the only people who understand what it is to be trans are the people who either live it or the parents who have had to live it with their children. That was the community, and the only way probably you can understand the depths of importance of flying a flag for 5 days is if you experience the personal thing. And the only thing I can say is I'd be happy to sit and talk with anyone for an hour, for 10 hours, and talk to you about the experiences. But I've met 100 families since that time over here and have seen what it's meant and the struggle their children go through, and when they actually identify themselves, how all of a sudden it changes their lives.
And one of these days we'll sit down and chat. Okay,
I
it
would
doesn't
love
change,
that.
but it doesn't change how I feel about the symbolism as far as what the
Well,
municipal.
but I appreciate
I think.
Okay.
Okay, we're done. I think we've beaten this
We're
one.
done. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes,
But we just check and make sure that there's no further comment from the board. Okay? Please,
There's somebody online too, just.
yeah, okay. Please identify yourself and give us your address.
Elena Jacobs, 1 Arbella Street. My concern here is that the statement that keeps being brought up, like, this is not the policy of our town, or this is not how our town feels, or we're not on. This is a flag. It's just a flag. And in a time in our country where there's so much hate and so much war and so much pain, if this is going to make one person in our town happy, why not put it up there? I don't get it. It doesn't make any sense to me at all. It's just about showing love and support. No matter if there's 3 people, 1 people, 10 people, it doesn't matter. It's a flag. We have 2 poles. And when you say that the transgender flag is part of the pride flag, that just shows ignorance. Because it's just like saying people who are transgender should just be underneath the flag of the United States. Because we are all Americans. What's the difference? We have now 2 flagpoles. On the Hawthorne Hotel, they change their flags every single day, representing different towns, different cultures, different cities, different, countries. I'm just trying to make the point that we have 2 flagpoles. And why does it matter if we change it 15 times a year or 5 times a year? I just think that right now we're losing focus of like, this town is a small town, and I think that we should be known as being encompassed to love everyone and accepting everyone. And if this, like I said, if it's gonna make just a handful of people better and happier in our town, we should be okay with that. That's just how I feel about it.
Thank you. We do face a slight issue, which is that this particular flagpole is specifically government speech. This is not public speech. That's an important distinction, because if we were just handling public speech, we would be required by a recent decision of the Supreme Court in Massachusetts to raise any flag that comes by, regardless of what we think of it. So I just wanted to address the question of why don't we fly some flag every day? And I don't think we've got the capacity to have a specific, a reason why the government supports something every single day.
we're not asking for every single day.
No, I
No,
know,
no, no,
I know
and-
you're not, but
My earlier point was just that, lots of folks wanted a second flagpole, okay, but you have to put some con-ops around that. Again, how many times a year, are we willing to change it? Are we gonna pay people overtime if the flag has to be changed on a weekend? There are logistics around having the extra capacity. We doubled our capacity for commemorative flags when we put that pole up, okay? And we never talked about how we were going to manage it. Do we allow, if you are, it doesn't sound like you're correct, Brian, about the overlap in purpose of the two flags that are in front of us today, but let's say you were correct about that. There's nothing in our policy that says we can't have overlap. So I'm just saying, we put up a flagpole and didn't think about how we would actually use it, other than the government speech part. You know, we were very careful about it.
And
And the
that flag-
proclamation.
And the proclamation, and the flag is maintained by, is raised and lowered by the fire department.
Okay, so
The
no
fire
overtime, good.
Yeah, the fire department deals with, when it needs to be at half-staff, they come and they put it at half-staff. So this is, that,
But still, what's our capacity for changing the flag? Do we wanna be like that hotel that,
No.
so I don't think we want that, but I don't know what we do want because we never talked about it.
not-
That's my only
Yeah,
point.
it's not public speech. I'm not worried about raising it. We've got now 3 different flags a year. No. I mean,
Well,
you go down to the
there's
city
gonna
of
be more.
Boston and they line up because every day there's somebody else, but
that's
that's,
because they were declared public speech.
right, and there were
And
some,
not government speech.
yes. But now that they've changed, they still have many, many more than we do.
Never talked
So
about
I'm- Okay.
it. I'm fine with it.
Can I just ask a question? I
Yes.
just want to question, what is the difference between, or what is government speech?
Government speech is,
Does it just mean you have to decide on it?
we decide on it and we produce a proclamation explaining our reason for supporting this particular cause.
So it's within your purview
Yeah.
as a government, as our local town government, to do this or do it for
Yes.
5 days?
And I will add that most cities and towns on the North Shore do a proclamation.
Yeah, it has to go with the flag.
Right.
If it's gonna fly there. The Hawthorne Hotel, of course, that's private
That's
property.
private
They
property.
can put up a flag every 10 minutes.
We have one,
Yes, please. Give us your name and.
Mike Shaw, 12 North Street. I agree with most everything Brian said. You were right on with all that. I don't believe we should be putting flags up that represent such a small group. 1% of the population is trans, 9% is LGBTQ, 40% of the LGBTQ community is Christian, yet they want to put up a trans flag on the holiest week of the year for Christians. Ms. Bucky over here keeps talking about trans, violence against trans. If you look at all the records of all the mass shootings that have been done lately, 90% of them are trans against Christians and people like us. We gotta stop it somewhere. We can't keep putting up a flag for one specific group. Where's the handicap flag? Where's the Christian flag? Where's this flag? It's gotta stop. We should have an American flag. We all live in America. We shouldn't be just pigeonholing people and shoving their stuff down our throats. And that's what it is. They're shoving it down our throats. We shouldn't have to. I don't mind. You wanna do the Pride Month? Does any of you know that Pride Month used to be Family Month? That got taken away.
Independent lobby.
Used to be Family Month. 1985, it was Family Month. 1999, they changed it to Pride Month. So where'd family go? Family's gone. And now they want to take the holiest week of the year for Christians and put up a transgender flag. This isn't a hate thing. This isn't anything. I'm just tired of this stuff being shoved down my throat.
Thank you. Yes, please, we've gone way over the time, so please be brief.
Okay, I just, Patty Doucette Gillis, I live on 8 Night Circle. I'm also on the board of North Shore Pride, and I'm the proud mother of a transgender child. And if she didn't transition to who she is today, she wouldn't be here with us anymore. So it's the hope that that flag brings us, that those beautiful colors, the blue, pink, and white, that the hope that brings to us as a family. We are a family, we're a very supportive family, and my daughter is the most amazing woman you've ever met in your life. When 5 years ago, she couldn't get out of the bed. She's living a beautiful life, she's helping people, she works in the mental health field, she has a community of people, and it's just 5 days, and it brings hope to all of us that in the midst of all of the hate that is out there for my daughter, and how in so many different states in this country, they're taking away transgender people's rights every minute of every day. That's all we're asking for. We're asking to just show a little support and say, we're here for you. We see you. We believe in you. Keep doing what you're doing. And she would never hurt a fly. All she wants to do is be herself and to love. So, thank you for hearing me.
Yes.
Hi, my name is Kim, 12 North Street. Good evening. I'm speaking against the pride flag on Transgender Day of Visibility, March 31st, as it falls during Holy Week, leading to Easter on April 5th. This display feels divisive and insensitive to our Christian families and community observances. While I respect inclusion efforts, one individual's push for LGBTQ+ rights doesn't align with our town's family values. With our strong churches and godly people who prioritize faith and family, promoting transgender ideology to children is inappropriate and harmful. We must stop this to protect our kids from confusion and irreversible decisions. Tragically, several mass killings by transgender identifying individuals highlight potential mental illness risk tied to gender confusion. Audrey Hale, trans man, 23, killed 6. Alec McKinney, trans boy, 2019, killed 1, injured 8. Robin Westman, trans woman, 2025, killed 2. Jessie Van Grossleer, trans woman, killed 8, including 5 students. Robert Durgorn, Rhode Island, known as Roberta, killed 3 family members. Consider these real stories of minors who transitioned and later detransitioned with lifelong regrets. Chloe Cole, starting at age 12. She detransitioned at 16. Prisha Mosley, she started at 17. Now she's suing for complications. Luca Hine, surgery at 16, detransitioned at 20. Fox Varian, surgery at 16, detransitioned by 22. Won $2 million lawsuit. Helena Kirshner, transitioned in teens. She detransitioned by 24. Charlie Evans, he started at 16, and at 26 he detransitioned.
Is this pertinent
Right.
to the
These-
flag
I
discussion?
don't believe it is.
No,
No.
it isn't.
Well, she was giving her facts. I thought I was going to give some
Actual stats.
these are actual facts. These cases underscore the risk. Let's prioritize caution and support and close and honor our town values, faith, and family and community. We honor veterans but don't need to promote gender confusion. I'm here to fight this until the day I die because our children deserve protection.
You? Thank you. Is the board prepared to vote?
I think we have one more comment
That's
for you.
Well, there was somebody online who
Yeah.
did.
There was somebody online, I'm sorry, we should, yes, please identify yourself.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, hi, Tom Lang. I lived in Manchester for 21 years, 18 Eastern Ave here, now in Essex. And I am monitoring this Zoom meeting, and thank you for opening this up to Zoom to actually be able to hear and see what you're saying. And I came here, and I'm going to be very honest, because I thought that Hope was overreaching regarding the trans flag. Hope is wanting to put the trans flag here in Manchester for Transgender Visibility Day. But the trans community has another day that they hold very dear, and that's the Transgender Day of Remembrance, which is even more important than the Transgender Visibility Day. And if you've ever gone to any of the ceremonies of Transgender Day of Remembrance, it's the day where you go to a church. I remember going to the North Church in Boston, where they just read the names of the trans people that were murdered, abused, or killed themselves. So I think now that I'm seeing what Hope's doing, and I came here because I didn't like the fact that there was this, the flag was going to hang here in Manchester. And I thought, wow, no, it's really an important thing, because all Hope and the trans community is asking for is a day of visibility, not a day of remembrance, not a day of death, murder, and suicide. And I don't think that's a lot to ask of a town. We're talking about a flag, and we're talking about people in our community. I don't care if it's one person in your town. And I wish Essex would do something like this, but we don't have leadership like Hope, and we don't have the deaths and the trauma and that everything is going on in Manchester and around Cape Ann. So that's why I came here, and I'm going to tell you again, and I'm going to emphasize this, that I came here because I didn't agree with Hope at first. And I thought about it, and I think you should all think about it. It's not a big ask. And, if we can't do for the most vulnerable in our community, then what are we? Especially now what's going on. There are states that are taking rights away from people. There's a government that's taking rights away from people. It's not a big ask of our little communities. And again, I'm here in Essex. We share a school system, and I respect that you allow me to speak tonight. And that's all I needed to say. And thank you for, and thank you for listening.
There's one more hand up in the audience. And my vision isn't good enough to read. So if the other person with a hand up would like to unmute.
I think that was him.
Oh, okay, fine.
Yeah, that was,
Okay.
just haven't put it down yet.
Okay. Mr. Lang, could you lower your hand just so I don't get confused again?
So where are we? So there we go. Hold on. Did that do it?
Nope. Yes. Excellent.
It's lower. There.
Can I just say a quick thing?
Um,
I'll be very quick. Christine Matrano Barber, Norwood Ave. And I also have a trans child. And my question is, what is the issue? Why is it such a big ask, just to mirror Tom Lang, to ask for 5 days instead of 1? I'm just curious as far as what the problem is.
It's not 5 days versus 1, it's 5 days versus none under what we've been asked. Any, okay.
So, Madam Chair, can I make a suggestion?
Yes.
I think there's 2 different asks here tonight. One is for the trans visibility flag, and the other is for the progress flag. I would like that we don't have a proclamation in front of us to state what it is we're supposed to be supporting, I would like to see that. I think it's important that people see that so they can vote yay or nay based on the proclamation. So I think there needs to be a proclamation, and we should vote on that at our next meeting. For tonight, progress flag, we've been doing it for years. They say we vote on that, say yay, and that would just be my suggestion, because I know we're running over time.
Yeah, I think that's a good plan.
It probably is.
We don't have a proclamation in front of us to approve, so according to our policy, we need that. Let's see what it says, and I'm no poet, so I don't know who needs to draft that, whether,
I think I drafted the first one, so.
okay,
Let's
cool.
change a couple names.
But let's understand what we are supporting
Okay.
as government speech, and then we take a vote next meeting.
Does anyone object to putting this
No, it's
on the
probably
action
good.
items for next week?
Madam Chairperson, could I just ask, so the language would be basically the same, just changing from LGBTQ to transgender. I've read the proclamation, you've given it to me, and changing it to
There's nothing signed.
transgender day of visibility.
I think there's a strong feeling on the board that we need to delay this decision until our next meeting,
And when is your next meeting?
In 2 weeks.
in 2 weeks.
Is it possible to get a reading of how the board will vote, so we don't have to?
I'd rather not do a straw vote.
No.
John.
Okay, so, for the progress flag, I can propose a motion then, which is for the month of June. I move that the select board proclaim the month of June as LGBTQ month in the town of Manchester by the Sea and sign a proclamation to be presented on May 31st.
Second.
Ready for a vote? Jeff,
Yes.
Brian,
Yes.
Kathy,
Yes.
Ann says yes.
And John says yes.
Okay, thank you all very much. The next item on the agenda is a request from Trinity North Shore to rent the Crowell Chapel for Sunday mornings from June on. There was an explanation in our packet. Anybody have?
I think there was gonna be some additional, I thought there was supposed to be some additional information.
No, she
Was only
redacted.
because something was redacted.
I think she redacted, so it wouldn't be continued.
Oh,
This is,
okay,
this
sorry.
is not, okay, yes, this is.
Right now I am.
In essence, it's just to use it for the months of, the summer months.
Just the summer months, yeah, I mean, I.
As opposed to going to, I think, the coming center.
So my only, and I expressed this to Tony, but my only concern is the parking. Because Rosedale gets inundated with the school parking, and it's an ongoing problem up there. I don't know what kind of plan there would be. I would just like to maybe have the police keep an eye on the situation.
This is on a Sunday.
Sunday.
I understand, but what happens is that these people get, and I understand it's during the summer, but my understanding is this, if this summer thing works out, it might get extended.
Then we'll readdress
So
it.
Yeah.
I thought for this period though, wasn't there something in the documentation that said they had negotiated with the school to use their parking lot? Did I
Yeah.
misread that? Okay,
But that doesn't necessarily mean people are gonna use that lot.
I'm
I mean,
just
we already
saying.
have that problem.
Okay, but we can certainly ask that,
I mean, I would think if I was a member of that church, I'd wanna be on my best behavior and make sure, the congregants use the parking that's been identified for them, because if they don't, they might not get permission to use the,
Well, the
Yeah,
problem
you know.
we have now is that kids are supposed to park at Brook Street or Coachfield Field, whatever you wanna call it, and they don't. They park up in these neighborhoods
kids, I'm sorry.
for school.
Well, that's a different issue though.
Well, the issue is that it's compounding on these neighborhoods, this parking situation.
But it's different days, I mean, they're not competing for the same spots, it's just
2
I
hours.
think
I
I hear what
understand, but if
Jeff's
you
saying,
lived
yeah.
there and you were
Yeah.
putting up with this all school year,
You have
and
no days
now
off.
it's one more day,
You know, now you thought you had
It's
summer
on
off
top
at
of you.
school, and all of a sudden every Sunday you've got this.
She
So
said she-
I'm not against this happening, I'm just asking that we keep an eye on this parking situation, that's all I'm asking.
I spoke to the chief of police. We will keep an eye on it. I added it, you know, you could consider as part of your motion, you know, pending approval of an approved parking plan. It does seem like they have the agreement to park in the school lot. So we can hold them to that. There is some past exception made for special events at the chapel where we allow visitors of that event to park on the where currently no parking is allowed. So we could consider something like that, or a number of different options. Obviously, that would probably cause more issues if we did something like that. So we can work closely with the applicant and create a parking plan that we think will least impact the neighborhood, and the police department will keep an eye on it.
Yeah, as long as we're keeping an eye on the situation, I'm okay with that.
As long as they're cognizant of the ramifications if they don't.
And we'll have our parking enforcement personnel on staff at that time as well, so we can include that as part of their route.
Yeah, what's the signage up there say right now? I don't think you can park during the school year on Rosedale.
Yeah, you
What
can,
do they do
you
for weddings and
absolutely
stuff?
can,
On one side,
on one side,
On one
opposite of the chapel.
opposite the,
What do they do when they have events there? I mean, it's an event venue, so what is the typical practice for parking there?
Ready to grab a
it's
parking spot.
basically just jamming the street
Yeah.
full of cars, and
Yeah.
you can't
Wherever you
even,
grab a
you
spot.
couldn't
Yeah.
get a fire truck or an ambulance down there if you wanted to. That's what I can tell you, that's what it looks like.
I parked in that street for those events.
I have parked probably once every 2 months. Seniors have an event, and I will go there. It's and there've been cars on both sides, but it's not jammed per se. But in other words, is there no parking on the left on the cemetery side?
Correct.
I don't know,
Yeah, there is no,
because I've parked there.
That's where I usually park on the left.
and then it's
I
it's
think
actually resident.
But I
parking.
wasn't the
Yeah,
first
I think it's
guy.
I think we've typically allowed
I think
that
so.
during
Events.
events in the chapel.
Right.
Yeah.
But that has less of a consistent
Yeah,
issue
it's not
than
like
every Sunday.
every
yeah.
Sunday. I mean, the events I go to, yeah, maybe it's once a month or
Right.
it's a one-off sort of thing.
So maybe we don't want to include that as an option for this, and request.
I
that
think
they
we
use
need
the
to, we
correct
need to
signage.
adjust it as necessary. I mean, I'm not saying no,
We have the
if
option.
it works, it works, but if it doesn't, we need to adjust it.
Or just limit the parking to the school and that's it.
It's an
And they can
event
also park
venue,
on
and
Yeah.
Pleasant Street, Pleasant extension there in front of the cemetery.
Yeah, because, I mean, their congregation is, there are,
not
there
big.
are a lot of, not just from all Manchester, they're from all around.
Yes, they are.
So there's not, so resident parking is still gonna be enforced, I would think.
Well, it's not,
That's
it's not
too
during
far
an event now.
Yeah, it's too far away.
Can we recommend that Ms. Dixon instruct her congregation that they should park in the school parking lot?
Absolutely.
I think that probably.
Yeah, I mean, they already said they negotiated it, so I think that's.
And I wouldn't have
They
any
risk a
problem
ticket
in,
if they don't, I mean,
yeah,
that's.
and I don't have any problem with Pleasant in front of the cemetery. That's not in front of any houses or anything.
Let's just
Right,
make
the
it
exit.
really simple.
Yeah, the congregation must park in the parking lot.
Yes. So,
It's not like they're walking through snow.
I move that the board approve Trinity North Shore requesting the Severnal Chapel every Sunday morning from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. during the months of June, July, and August of 2026, with the condition that the congregants park in the school parking
Second,
lot. Jeff,
yes.
Brian,
Yes.
Kathy?
Yes.
Anne says yes.
John, yes.
Okay, the next item, on the action items is a request from Jim Starkey for the creation of a dredging committee on task force. Mr. Starkey, do you have,
Thank you.
you
well,
need to identify yourself
And before you do that, probably I should, the chair will transfer the gavel to the vice chair, at least for this issue, because she thinks there might be a possible conflict of interest. We'll accept that.
My gavel.
Not anymore.
Okay, I gavel. So, yes, and the topic is, I guess, the possibility of a dredging committee, and
Yes.
Mr. Starkey, you have an opinion on that.
Okay, thank you.
You
For the
should
record,
identify
my name is
even
Jim
though I'm not
Starkey.
here.
Yes, that's correct. Identify yourself, please.
My name is Jim Starkey, 13 Tux Point Road.
Okay.
And I'm here with my many hats as the founding chairman of the Dredging Advisory Committee, which is set up by the Board of Selectmen about 2015. Let me start with two spoilers. The first is, this is not about laying out Area 5. This is about Area 4. And the second is that this is also about a possibly unnecessary $1.5 million dredging project. So let me go back to the beginning. When I first made the proposal to the Board of Selectmen in 2015 for a dredging committee, the Harbor Advisory Committee had decided it had no interest in involving in dredging. It was just, it would not take it up. And it was very clear to me that this was a very important thing that the town had to address in the long run. So I put together a proposal, and the first, which became the charter of the committee, the first thing is working with the harbor master to develop a master plan for harbor maintenance. So before I made this proposal, I had put together a harbor hydrological model based on historical surveys from the harbor, which was very interesting because we could first see where the harbor filled in and exactly with the rate that it would fill in. And we had a slider, we can go forward, and we could project this forward and see where the harbor is going. And this is, having proposed this to the select board, they saw the need for a master plan for the harbor committee. So what we did is we started with the hydrological model, and then we put in a financial model for individual projects for dredging parts of the harbor. And it was tied into the hydrological model, so we would compute how much fill there was there and estimate the cost of that particular dredging, and it was tied to a year. So we developed a project for each of the areas for the harbor, and then we took it one step further, and we developed a mechanism for we could define a plan. We actually defined a bunch of them we were playing, but a plan was for each of these projects, what year it would be done. And when we were doing that, we were looking at, for each of the areas, at which point the model looked like it was going to be a serious problem for boats in the harbor. And while we were doing that, while we were figuring out what is the master plan, we had the idea that by moving deep draft boats out of Area 4, which is over by the rotunda, into Area 5, that Area 5, having deep boats, would have to be dredged about every 20 years, and when it got down to from 8 feet for its dredging down to about 6 feet, that with the deep draft boats out of Area 4, that it could be dredged much less frequently. In the best case, in half the frequency of the deeper areas, and this would have a huge effect on the long-term cost of managing the harbor. So when we produced the final report for the long-term plan, the master plan for dredging, it included moving sailboats out of Area 4 into Area 5. Now, we're coming up on a dredging, and it's completely unclear to me whether it's this year or next year. I don't have any idea. Let me go back and say that the master plan was signed off unanimously by the Dredging Advisory Committee, which included Carl Doan as representative from the Harbor Committee. He was vice chair. And Bion, we were working very closely with Bion at this point, and he attended every one of our meetings. He bought into it. We presented it to the Board of Selectmen. That's what it was called back then, and it was accepted by the Board of Selectmen, so it became, the policy. So now let's skip forward, 10 years or so. We're coming up on a major dredging, and all of the homework that we had thought that should be done does not seem to be underway. So I met with the Harbor Advisory Committee a year ago, January, and showed them the software that I had and the modeling I could do, and they're very enthusiastic. A bunch of questions, and then they voted to accept this as for going forward. And we agreed that we needed to have a bunch of meetings. We have a public meeting for people in the harbor so they can kind of understand why people would be moving from area to area, which is not going to be very popular, but it's important. As well as other things. I mean, working out the mechanisms for swapping moorings around. We agreed, and then we needed to go over exactly what the mooring spacing requirements were. So everybody in agreement, we needed to meet with the mooring service providers. And then nothing happened. Nothing happened. It's been 14 months. I've been through all of their minutes. The word dredging has come up once, and it had to do with a reference to a bond issue for financing it. So the dredging committee, the Harbor Advisory Committee, is just not doing this. And so we're exactly where we were, 10, 11 years ago. So I would like to see that the dredging committee be reconstituted, because the last three of the duties and responsibilities of the Dredging Advisory Committee is working with the Harbor Advisory Committee to establish mooring policies consistent with the master plan. It's not happening. It's just not happening. The moorings, the sailboats in Area 4 are completely contrary. It's just not happening. And second, engaging the harbor community during development and implementation of the master plan. That's just not going on. There's no information about the dredging or the policies that's available anyplace. It's neither on the Harbor Masters page nor on the Harbor Advisory Committee. And finally, and this is critically important, periodic review on ongoing dredging projects, plans, and permits, so people know what's going on. And right now, we've got a total vacuum in terms of data. So what I'm asking you is to reconstitute this committee so we can take on the issues that are coming on. Now, there are two cases here. I don't know what the layout plan is for Area 5, and because nobody's talking. If there is a plan, we don't know what it is. But there really are two cases. One is that it's going along as with the master plan, in which case we need to do the public phase and have the meetings and get consensus on this, address a bunch of secondary and tertiary issues like mooring swaps. Or, in fact, that's not going to happen, in which case the master plan is dead and we have to do a new one, because it's all based on that.
All right,
So,
I think we've got a handle on what the issue is here with regard to the dredging. Is there someone present from the Harbor Advisory Committee here, or online, that can address that, or maybe you, Tony, or Andy?
I can. Go ahead. I spoke with with our harbor master and our deputy. Had some email exchange with the chairman of the Harbor Advisory Committee, largely in response to the comments that Mr. Starkey's made here tonight and the documentation that was submitted earlier in the week. Respectfully, I don't, and they don't feel that the comments are accurate as far as the activity that is or is not going on with the Harbor Advisory Committee or how it's being discussed in open session. Most, like any capital project, no matter the department that we're working under, here it's the Harbor Department, but if this was a DPW project, the department head working closely with an engineering firm is where that process would start. If there was a desire to change the mooring locations in these areas post-dredge, that would become, or likely would include the Harbor Advisory Committee and therefore a public process. I don't think that we're well along in that process at this point. And Andy, if you could speak a little bit about, maybe some of the things that have gone on or or where the Harbor Advisory Committee is.
Andrew Manicos, Deputy Harbor Master. First off, I want to applaud you, Jim, because we came up with, we appreciate you trying to help out. I think it's great. Where we're at right now is we're working with the engineering company. You got to get the dredging done, and it's basically what we try to do now is try to move moorings so that, not move moorings, but move deep water boats into Area 5 when stuff is given up. So if someone gets a new, a mooring gets given up, we'll try to get a shallow draft boat in there. That's what Bayon's been doing for years. So I get what you're trying to say, but trying to tell people that they have to give up their mooring that they had for 30 years just is not going to work. It's not going to be a popular process.
May I ask a question? Excuse me. When you're done, I'd like to ask a question.
Yeah.
Keep going, Andy.
So there's the Harbor Advisory Committee.
So we give our reports to the Harbor Advisory Committee, each session. Where we're at right now is we're still waiting on permits. We're always held up by the permitting process. So until that permit comes through, we can't give you any more details where we're at.
This is that permits for dredging?
Yes.
Okay, so that is in progress, but it's not necessarily in any of the minutes associated with the Harbor Advisory Committee at this point?
No, just because we have not had a update.
Okay.
So, I mean, we're always waiting, unfortunately, on the state.
Well, I know certainly that project is the subject of a capital item.
Yep.
It's up for consideration for this year. Yes.
So my question is, if I understood Mr. Starkey's point, there is an opportunity to save $1.5 million if we were to not wait for turnover, but manage the moorings and move the larger sailboats into this other area. So that we could, I'm asking the question,
Yeah.
so to dredge on a different schedule, which might save us money.
That's what he's.
That is certainly a possibility. But just generally speaking, moving deep water vessels into the deep water areas would accomplish that feat, right? So it's less you need to dredge for shallow boats. So, but that would cause a lot of issues in the harbor, moving a lot of the deeper, deep water boats into the deeper water area where you wouldn't have to dredge as much, if that was the goal that we were trying to pursue.
Right, so you would move all your sailboats to Area 7 and move all your power boats in Area 5. If that was really your goal to do this, that's what you would do.
Which Which would
turn to a
would turn,
complete
yeah,
disaster.
would.
I think,
And you're not,
yeah.
can I just say something?
Go ahead.
You're not necessarily saving money by putting off dredging. You're pushing it down the road, and that area is gonna silt in more. It's gonna cost you more the next time, and the dredging gets more expensive every time. So it's like when we talk about the time to build is now, because now's the cheapest, right? If you remove that material today, it's gonna cost you less than it is tomorrow. There's gonna be more material there to remove down the road. So are you saving money? I think you're pushing that cost down the road to possibly be more than it is
So
now.
how many, whenever we talk about capacity and asset management, you have to talk numbers. How many boats are we talking about?
I don't even
What
know.
percentage of the large boats are in the right area, whatever that is, and what percentage of the boats are not?
So right now, if you're talking about Area 4, there's only 2 deep draft vessels, sailboats left. And we're working to try to get them out of there as we speak. There's only 2 in there right now.
Okay.
27.
That's his.
I can give you the list.
I'm sorry, 27 large
Oh,
vessels
excuse me,
in
just a
the
second. Let me
correct
verify.
area, or 27 need to be moved to accomplish what you're suggesting?
23.
I'm not clear on what the number means.
Well, it's, I don't know what your definition is of a deep draft vessel. Is that like
Are
6 feet?
23 deep water vessels in the proper place, or 23 deep water vessels would have to move to accomplish your suggestion?
Yeah.
It'd be 23 deep draft sailboats in area that are currently in Area 4 that would need to be moved to Area 5.
Okay.
What are you considering deep draft?
Yeah, I don't know what deep draft is.
Let me explain. Mixing sailboats and powerboats is a very bad idea. And the reason for that is that sailboats have keels and they lie with the current, and powerboats don't, and they lie with the wind. And when the wind and the current aren't aligned, they bump into each other. So, the draft in the harbor database is not at all reliable. So I can't really go on that. So I'm just, we're talking about sailboats that do have keels. All sailboats have keels. Could I ask a couple questions? Or I wait, 2 questions and 1 comment.
Yeah.
Okay. With regard to pushing the mooring down off, you're absolutely correct. That dredging has to happen sooner or later. The difference is, however, once you have done that, where Area 5 will need to be dredged every 20 years to maintain acceptable depth, if you have just power boats, it only needs to be done every 35 or 40 years. So you're putting it off for the very first time, but after that, there's a long-term saving, and that's significant. Now, Mr. Bellato, I have 2 questions for you. You said that you had talked to somebody from the Harbor Advisory Committee, and who decided that what I was going to say was inaccurate. I am just curious on how you knew what I was going to say, and you determined it was inaccurate before I said it. The second is, could you tell me exactly what I said that was inaccurate?
Yeah, I'm not gonna take that question, or in other words, bait. I'm not gonna enter into that type of debate with you. I feel strongly that we have a harbor department. We have professionals here in town. We also hire professional engineers to advise us on how we should conduct the mooring placement if we so desire to change that. And I think that should be where this conversation should start. And if there's a public process where you would like to provide your feedback on that, it should be done with the Harbor Advisory Committee. And
The Advisory Committee is not discussing dredging, they're not even meeting this month. Second, if you are going to accuse me of
All right,
inaccurate
come on,
information.
come on. All right, I don't want to get into arguments here. I know that you have a lot of information and all of us here have read it. I found it interesting and these are considerations. However, as Tony has indicated, we've got a professional engineering group that's going to be assisting. I don't know where they stand with the whole process, but will be helping us with the dredging activity. And I would think that the Harbor Advisory Committee would certainly share that information with, was it both? I'm not sure. Okay, both. And to the extent that there's something there that makes sense, and a lot of what you said I thought was interesting stuff, and maybe it does from an engineering perspective. Certainly from a social, political perspective, moving people around, that's hard.
Right.
But they can take that under advisement, and it would seem to me that there would be a public hearing at one point or another with regard to what's going to happen with the dredging down the road.
So I would like to make a suggestion.
Yes.
So if I could make a suggestion, I think there's two separate issues here a little bit. It sounds like there's some engineering going on, some planning going on, and we need to understand what that's going to entail. If, as part of that effort, there's a recommendation that we move people, we should move people. Because I gotta tell you, I know it's hard, but when you sign up for, put your boat in a private marina like I have mine, it's part of my contract. I don't like it when they ask me to move my boat, but it's part of the contract, it's part of the deal. So we should not hesitate to do what's in the best interest of the harbor because we're afraid of getting flack from some friends. Okay, that's kind of where I draw the line. I don't know if Mr. Starkey's suggestions are the right ones. I agree with Tony, we have professionals looking into this. I look forward to learning about what they have to say. But let's not get into, oh, that's my mooring for 30 years. Sorry, we have to do what's in the best interest of the harbor. And if it's difficult, then that's all of our jobs to help make Andy and Bayon's life a little easier.
And from speaking with the harbor master, he's on board with that, and I believe the Harbor Advisory Committee, which has been stated has no interest in taking this up, is in fact open to that and has displayed that by trying to move boats efficiently as moorings become available. Now, the last time I think we dredged, what was done was the existing moorings were pulled out and put back in the same exact spot, I believe. Now that might have been I'm not sure what the reasoning was behind that. So right now we have engineering on, being conducted on the dredging that's gonna happen and help us with the permitting process. If there's a desire to explore changing how the moorings are laid out or where boats go, we would ask them to give us some advice as to what could we do with the current project and how could that benefit the town. And then we would evaluate that, understand what the process that would be to take that on, likely include public process through the Harbor Advisory Committee and discuss that openly and then make a decision that's best for the town. So the comments that were made to me, not comments of my own, are that there is desire, there has been proven desire and interest into having that conversation if it turns out to make sense.
And I understand this stuff is hard. I used to support factories, and whenever we got a new product in and had to redesign the entire factory, it was a pain, okay? But sometimes you gotta do hard stuff. So I just wanna make sure that whatever decisions we make on anything, we're doing what's in the best interest, the safety of the harbor, and if we get to save a little money too, great. But safety's gotta come first. Our harbor's getting congested. We spend enough time talking about that. And pride of ownership on a mooring is not at the top of my care list.
I will make just one quick warning about that. I mean, obviously, it's always changing out there. Because people get different boats. They want to go from a power boat to a sailboat or a sailboat to a power boat, which is what's happening today. So when someone gets a mooring, they may have a 26-foot Greenway. They want to get a 22-foot day sail. It completely changes everything. So we have to logistically look at every single mooring.
I get it.
And So,
I get it, I just changed my slip because I got a different boat, I totally get it,
So-
and the marina had the right to tell me where to put my new boat.
I don't,
And I just wanna make
but
sure
we
you
don't-
guys feel
we-
empowered.
it's a little bit different, it's a little different because the 10A permit is
Yeah.
different from
Okay,
a slip placement, so
I mean,
it's a little different.
If you got, like, if you got a 30-foot power, you got a 30-foot sailboat, I can't go, hey, Kathy, I'm sorry, but you're gonna have to go up to Area 7. You'll probably come down to my office and strangle me more than, but, I mean, so that's the stuff we gotta kind of look at, what we can and can't do.
as long as we are following the law and not letting personal preference dictate what we do. That is
Oh, no,
that is my
100%.
message. We do what's in the best interest of the harbor and hopefully save a little money,
Yes.
but personal
And that's
preference
what's
is off
happening
the
now.
table.
That's what's
so I
happening
got,
now.
so I've been to the harbor advisory committees, and this is what's going on. The harbor advisory committee has talked about this. The harbor master and the deputy harbor master have both talked about this. But I think that right now, where we're waiting for we're stalled on permits, we're not at a point to be making these decisions yet, and that's why this has stalled. It's not that the harbor advisory committee does not want to take this on. I do not personally believe that to be true, and I don't believe that any of our people working for our harbor don't want to take this on. I think it's premature at this juncture to make a plan when we don't know what this is gonna look like.
That's fair.
Well,
And that's, I believe, where we're at.
Jeff, and I know that you interface with the Harbor Advisory Committee, so you know more than anyone else here on this, in our group as to what's going on there. And the issues that Mr. Starkey has brought up, these are all issues that are getting pushed around on the table right now.
So I think a lot of them are.
All right, the committee has the note that he wrote.
Yeah.
And so they know what the story is. With regard to a separate dredging committee, I think dredging is a purview of the Harbor Advisory Committee.
I would agree.
And to the extent that you've got to have some people that really kind of ride herd and need to know if a subset of the Harbor Advisory Committee is going to be dredge specialists, fine. I think we leave it to them to decide what the story is. All committees have people that work on specific projects. But I don't think it makes sense to set up a whole separate committee. I think there are folks on the Harbor Advisory Committee that are quite informed and capable of serving that role.
I'm not against public input. I think
No.
that there's a real place for it. I think we have a lot of smart people in this town, including
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Starkey, that have a lot of knowledge on this. But there's a time and a place for it, and that's what we need to keep it to, I think.
So I agree with exactly what you said, and you, Jeff. John, when you said I believe we don't need a separate committee for this, which I think is the action in front of the board tonight.
Mhm.
However, that is why I asked for the charter of the Harbor
Oh.
Advisory Committee. Having a gosh darn locating that little sucker, so I would really like us to understand what the charter is and have it published on the website so it's clear what they are and what they are not responsible for.
To that point, I think my feelings on multiple layers of bureaucracy have been articulated many times, and it doesn't change on this one either. And I think that if we were to set up this committee, it's, I have utmost respect for the HAC and the harbor master and deputy harbor master. And to set up another committee is almost a de facto no vote of confidence. So, and I'm not prepared to do that. So I think remain status quo until there's more information to share.
Yeah, when there's more information to share, we'll start to put together a plan. We will give, first off, the Harbor Advisory Committee our plan, and then it'll go to you guys.
But I would like the Harbor Advisory Committee to take the action to review what they think is their charter. And I believe the select board has to approve charters. We just redid the one for the downtown improvement. I think Bike and Ped may be working on some stuff. Sounds like that one hasn't been looked at in a while, or it's been lost. I would like that charter to come before us. We talk enough about the harbor and the season's starting again, so let's all get on the same
Especially
page.
because the reality is the harbor is going to be our economic engine.
Yeah, we need to understand what we as a select board are asking that team to do. And do we still agree with it, or do we want to change it? We haven't looked at it.
Yeah, I think that's something to ask them to look at.
All right.
following
So,
the trail of record, it seemed like there was a draft of an updated charter that was discussed with the Harbor Advisory Committee in the last couple of years or so. But it never, I don't know if it was ever voted on or brought to the select board to be voted on. So we'll start there and get something before them and before the select board.
Please add that to our action item tracker.
yeah,
because it's getting kind of thin.
okay.
Well, yeah, we gotta beat that
Although
buddy
the,
up.
Well, I don't know,
The
there might-
dredging wasn't until May, according to the,
There might be something in the harbor management plan, which has been in the works for a while. I'm not sure when that's showing up, but there might be something.
I have an anecdotal report from Chairman of
Mm-hmm.
that the group that was hired from
UMass Boston, I think it was.
yeah, knows about a lot of things, but the placement of moorings isn't one.
Well, I think Mr. Starkey and certainly the engineering group that we're working with have opinions and information about that. Jim, you may have the closing comment. 1 minute?
Yes. First, we're talking about planning here. Planning is not contingent on getting the permits. Planning should be done before the permits, know what the policy is and what we're going to do, so we know what to do with the permits, and we don't say, wow, now we don't have enough time to deal with it because it's gotta go. So that's what the Dredging Advisory Committee is about, and that's advanced planning. The second, and this is a point of personal privilege, Mr. Barletta has accused me of saying something that is inaccurate. I want him to tell me either what it is or give me a public apology right now.
sounds familiar.
I mean, I'm not, you, Mr. Starkey, respectfully, you're not gonna pressure me the way that you just did. As I mentioned, I spoke with others who saw the document you submitted to the select board which is in the backup packet. They reviewed it. For example, you stated that the Harbor Advisory Committee is not interested in looking at dredging. They stated that may have been the case of the Harbor Advisory Committee in the past, but it's not the case of the Harbor Advisory Committee today. So that is one way. They also noted things that you put in that document that aligns with their efforts. So there isn't, they're not completely against everything you put in that document. They don't agree with everything that's in that document, but there is a committee and a department that this discussion should be had with, and that's how I feel about it.
Okay, thank you. It always boils down to communication and who learned what from where, and sometimes information is incomplete or you get it from different sources, but thank you. All right, so we will wait for further information coming from the Harbor Advisory Committee with regard to this project, and we'll probably be revisiting it, I'm sure. Okay. I return, Madam Chair.
Okay, the next item on our agenda is liaison reports. John?
Yeah, I just have a comment, I guess, with regard to the DPW. We all know that there was a water main break. They were very responsive to all of that. And I guess it got straightened out just in a few hours. And then when was that? That was yesterday. That was pretty fast. Good. And the PFAS project, which of course is a big capital item that is being considered over the next few weeks, that's going out to bid this week. They will have numbers back before
2 weeks.
I guess in about 2 weeks, certainly
No, 2
before
weeks before town meeting.
before town meeting. So in fact, we know exactly how much money is involved. And so the timing on that will be pretty good. And that's it, just the usual stuff from the seniors, what's going on with the senior center, et cetera. And I'll leave that to you, maybe. That's it.
Jeff,
Not too much. The planning board, they met, but due to the weather and power outages in town and whatnot, they were gonna have a public hearing on 22 Union Street, the cargo building. But they ended up rescheduling that for May 9th. And the Harbor Advisory,
May 9th?
what did I say?
It's May 9th.
Oh, March 9th. No,
March 9th, is
Yeah, it was one of those M months, right?
yeah,
oh, it's a Monday, yes.
That would be
Okay.
March, right?
March
yeah,
9th.
let's try March, April, yeah. And that's pretty much all I have for you at this point.
They're having that on March 9th. That's a week from today. Okay. That's also when they had their public hearing with regard to their, their various zoning.
Right, they are gonna cover zoning, that too, so.
All in one shot, so
That's
I think
the
the cargo
plan
should
right
be-
now.
Dial into.
Cargo should be relatively simple.
okay, yeah, all right,
I mean,
good.
ZBA did all their due diligence, so there's no reason. I don't think it's gonna be, I think it's more procedural than anything else. You done?
I was done when I got here.
ZBA, they met last week, it was a hearing on an appeal of an administrative decision up on 2 Blossom Lane, which had been ongoing, and I would suspect that it's still gonna, there's some deep pockets on both sides, I got a feeling that's gonna keep on going for a while.
I know which property.
Okay, I mean, I was on the ZBA back then when we first heard that. Parks and Rec just finished up their basketball season finally yesterday. On a personal note, I just finished my 21st year of doing their championship basketball games.
Oh,
Yeah, I used to be able to beat 4th graders down the court. And the Concom, that was quite the, there was just a hearing, but of some concern, and I'm going to bring this up again. I'd like to renew my call for policy on eliminating the virtual meeting and going to hybrid. The chair at this meeting showed up with a animated fox emoji, okay, on the because it was all virtual, and I got to tell you, it wasn't a good look for the town. All right, if we're looking for professionals, I'm staring at the chair as a fox emoji. So I would really like to just revisit this policy, make it consistent for all adjudicatory boards, and so I don't know what the next step is to do that, but that was the last straw right there. Right, they were laughing. I mean, we all like to enjoy ourselves, but that wasn't a good look. So that's my liaison reports.
I missed the last Bike and Ped meeting, Facilities Planning Committee, where I'm sure we'll discuss the Lincoln Street well, that committee is meeting this week. Downtown Improvement, they started taking their marketing package that they put together to local realtors. So they went to one already and they were planning others. I couldn't stay for the whole meeting, but it sounded like that marketing package to encourage small businesses to come to Manchester was very well received by the realtors.
Can you see a copy of that?
I can get it, yeah,
Yeah,
sure,
that's-
absolutely, yep. And I think that's it.
The school committee meets tomorrow, I think. They did finalize their budget. They have some hope that their insurance costs will come down slightly, and that they'll be able to, then they will have some space in their budget, and the question is whether all that space should go back to the towns, or whether they should put in their OPEB account, or whether they should use less of their reserves to balance the budget. And I assume that they'll talk about that tomorrow night. The Finance Committee, I think we're all kind of following that closely. Their most recent meeting was a general discussion of the capital items. They've approved almost all of the operating budgets. And this meeting was just to understand the extent of the capital projects, which is substantial, and the effect that it will have on the town borrow. The Board of Health had a meeting last Thursday when they discussed how they are dealing with the new alliance with Gloucester and the grants that come with it. Grants are specifically encouraged, they encourage them to use it to digitalize their materials, old and new, and Gloucester is going all in on it. They are making sure that they don't get themselves in a situation where they use a grant to start something, and then the grant goes away and they can't continue it. That's where I've been. Okay, the next is the consent agenda.
I move the select board approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Discussion? John?
No discussion? Yes.
Anne says yes, Kathy?
Yes.
And Brian?
Yes.
And Jeff?
Yes.
Excellent. The town administrator's report.
Okay, as you mentioned, Madam Chair, the Finance Committee continues to make progress, meeting every Thursday night. Last week, met with the school and talked about funding sources for major capital items. One of our larger outstanding, variables to the operating budget is our future waste hauling costs. Chuck is on the phone consistently putting pressure on Republic to provide us updated numbers. He's also reaching out to other vendors and looking at, potentially going out to bid if we don't receive proposals in a timely fashion. We've also been kind of aligned with the preparation for town meeting. We're working, we have contract negotiations occurring, so we're doing financial analysis, fiscal forecasting for our operating budget and what we have, what the outlook looks like over the next few years, which in a way helps us plan for the upcoming fiscal year and think about some of our larger financial priorities. I have a draft warrant here that I sent to you before the meeting. Right now we're at about 29 articles. We received 3 citizens petitions at the end of last week. We have, as you mentioned, a number of capital items that require individual votes, and we have 4 zoning articles and a couple general bylaw articles as well. So we're working on finalizing the warrant, making updates as new information comes to light. And then along with all of that is public communication. We've done 3 cricket articles related to the town meeting process and specific items like the zoning articles, and we'll be putting out a PFAS article giving an update to the Lincoln Street Well project. We're trying to continue that and provide kind of a series of weekly articles to help prepare the public for what's on the warrant at town meeting. We're also exploring video Manchester Minute type social media posts having stuff on the website, and then when we get further along in the process and all of our numbers become finalized, I will be hosting informational sessions that'll be available hybrid. We'll walk through a lot of the articles and help prepare people in the weeks leading up to town meeting. Additional items on my, priority items on my list. Getting the job posting out for the police chief position, hopefully by the end of this week. Our MVP action grant is due at the end of the month. We've already submitted a expression of interest. We've gotten a lot of good feedback. We're putting the final touches on what that application is going to look like, and that's for the culvert project. That's the backup money for the culvert if Brick doesn't get extended. We also have a one-stop grant opportunity. We're looking at that for the senior/community center. So maybe the way that the one-stop grant program works now is it's all AI based, and you actually submit, information about the project, and then it kind of filters you to the correct grant program. So it's new. Sue did a webinar the other day to understand how it works. We're meeting tomorrow to use our, test drive it with, hopefully, we find a grant that could be suitable for the senior/community center. We're also evaluating an invitation from our federal delegation to apply for community project funding. That is due at the end of this week. That's up to $1 million. Mostly it's for shovel-ready projects. I'm going to have a call with them Wednesday to see, get a little bit more information to see if it's something that we could apply for there. Unfortunately, I don't think facilities is far enough along. The senior center, community center could be an option, even though it's not shovel ready today. It likely, could be by the time they debate that legislation. And then, as I mentioned, we're continuing to evaluate union contract proposals, and health insurance is, our goal was really to be further along in that process by now. Unfortunately, health insurance is really the holdup. We have Maya through Blue Cross Blue Shield through Maya, and in our contracts with the union, it benchmarks our plan to GIC. GIC was evaluating alternative structures, plan structures. They were supposed to vote on it on the 12th. It got postponed to the 26th. They voted on the 26th. So hopefully we get numbers this week, and not only numbers for our existing plan, but hopefully some numbers for potential alternative plans that we could explore and bring to the table through contract negotiations. And senior center, I did have a few conversations with the Masons last week. Sounds very promising. Sounds like they've gotten through the bulk of the contracts. They're supposed to be sending me the latest version of those documents and what outstanding issues. It doesn't sound like there's a ton. So it sounds very promising, and sounds like we hopefully are going to be prepared to close this month. However, keep in mind, they are going through a deregistration process with the Registry of Deeds. So my hope is that we can get all the documents squared away and have both parties in favor of the documents and have it essentially closed just short of being able to process with the Registry of Deeds.
I think that would put up a good visual for the seniors that we've done everything we can do at this point. I like that.
Yeah, and we've been providing updates to either the Friends or the Council on Aging Board, or, we've been providing updates to the Finance Committee, almost weekly or every other week.
At least
Unfortunately,
It's weekly.
unfortunately, things don't move that fast, so those updates are, can be.
Photocopy it, pass it out again.
So that's everything I have.
So just a quick question on the budget, when do we get to see the impact of the operating budget on the tax bills? Like,
So we,
capital.
I had to drop that down because our big task last week was to provide the Finance Committee the impact of all the capital items. They were talking about funding sources and what that tax bill impact was. So we were working a lot on that debt service side of it. So we'll pick it back up this week on the operating side.
Need to see that.
So the idea is, we have all the numbers are there. It's just, taking a look at how does it, you want to see.
Just like you did
how
for
the-
capital. For each capital item, you were able to see for, $1 million house, this is what it's gonna add to your bill.
Mhm.
We need to, first of all, tally all of that stuff up, okay, the capital stuff. And for the operational budget, what is our proposed operational budget gonna do to the tax bill of a $1 million homeowner and a
Yep.
$2 million home? Just so people can really see what they're voting on.
I think
yeah, we
you
have-
been working on that, right?
Yes, and that we essentially have.
Yeah.
I would think you have it,
The assessor
but
has the
I haven't
number.
seen the operational side, I've only seen the capital side.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were looking for a little bit more in depth of like within that 2.5. And
It's never really 2.5, which is why I want the,
I'm just,
yeah.
Plus growth.
Yeah.
I thought you wanted to see kind of how the operational budget broke out within there, but I can give you the $1 million.
I would
Household
definitely like to
impact
see
of
the
the-
breakout, but I think, ultimately, I'm looking for a one-pager, okay? Here was my bill last year, right, for $1 million home, a $2 million home, whatever. Here are the puts and takes, here's what we're gonna add from an operational standpoint, here's what we're gonna add for capital. Bottom line, you're gonna add $200 to your tax bill, $2,000 to your tax bill, makes a difference in how people vote, and we should make it that clear.
Yeah. We'll pick back up on that this week.
But we closed the whole gap, correct?
Yeah, actually, the operational budget right now, I think, has an additional unappropriated amount of $20-something thousand.
Okay, so we're,
We just spent it just now, didn't we?
They're also, late last week, we got the updated Essex Tech assessment number, which I think is less than what we had in there. So it'll actually be a little bit more. I'm
fewer
not sure.
students?
One less?
Yeah, it's
It's not because
it's
the
one-
tuition went down.
Well, it's one less, so,
One less student.
for this last year.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a look back.
Okay.
Don't worry, we're gonna spend it next year.
I know, there's a lot of effort.
So while there is some additional unappropriated recommendation right now, like I said, we still don't have that. A huge variable is that waste hauling contract number. We also kind of put a pin in some of the other items that had been proposed that we may revisit if there's additional funds available. So we're close.
Total different direction. On your communication plan, having a talk at the Manchester Club has been very effective.
I'm scheduled to do that, I think in April, right before town meeting.
Good.
Which is good. That's good because everything will be closed and finalized at that point.
I think the Manchester Club is a great venue to bounce things off people and get information out there.
Bounce things off of that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, that is a very narrow
Old
part
man.
of the
Old man.
population.
The trick is getting through it all efficiently.
Without them falling asleep.
You got 10 minutes.
Yeah, 10 minutes to go through 29 articles. And
We should be reaching out to a diversity of organizations, which,
we're talking about that.
Well, there is the
We're
women's
talking
club,
about
but
that
they
with
only
Tiffany.
meet twice a year, that's kind of tough.
Yeah, we're trying to see what's,
there's
They
other
do.
ways
They
of
do, I know
getting
that.
to the population.
yeah, it's very effective to take advantage of those opportunities that already exist rather than, creating them. It's hard to get people to come just to listen to.
No, I agree. If you wanna go with there,
One of my many hats I have.
just go to the organizational,
Yeah, you could.
the organization
You could be
meeting.
president.
Okay, is there any further business?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.